Number two, COVID, yes, affected the Ghanaian economy. Nobody can disprove that. Nobody can deny that. But the question is, Ghana only needed 11.7 billion cedis to manage the effect of COVID on the economy. Yet we got 30 billion Ghana cedis.
That figure, if you look at the Auditor General's report,
the Auditor General says 21.8 billion. Now, I am saying 30 billion because the Auditor General left the $1 billion special drawing rights facility, which came in April 2021. The Auditor General only reported the first $1 billion rapid credit facility, which came in 2020. If you check table 1 of his audit report. Let's even take the Auditor General's figure, 21.8 billion. The Auditor General says they only used 12 billion of that amount to manage COVID. So they had more than 10 billion left as a result of COVID to stabilize and to support the economy. Now, how can you continue to blame COVID for your own economic failings, your own recklessness, when COVID actually gave you far more than you needed to manage it? Number three, as you pointed out to him, Ghana is not an island. Like our neighbors, we all have suffered from the ravages of COVID-19, right? Now, the issue is, compare, I don't know if my microphone is working.
Sure.
Should I go?
Sure, go ahead.
Now, the issue is, compare the economies of our neighbors, Togo, Burkina Faso, Nigeria, and so on, to Ghana. Which of our neighbors today are going through a draconian debt exchange program?
He just pointed Ivory Coast to you.
They are not doing domestic debt exchange. They are not doing debt restructuring.
They just started.
They are not. They are not doing debt exchange. Don't lie.
It's okay.
You have sat here and peddled falsely that in 2016 the unemployment rate was 13%. Who told you that? Who told you that? What is the source of that figure?
No, I said unemployment rate, World Bank data, 2014 to 2016 is 12.92%.
It is not.
World Bank data, and 2017 to 2020 was 9%.
Listen, if you are quoting the World Bank data, fine, because the World Bank's definition of unemployment is different from the definition of the Ghana Statistical Service of unemployment. And if I can, there is no time to show you the differences. But if you are going per the Ghana Statistical Services figures of unemployment, unemployment rate for 2016, according to table 5.27 of the Ghana Living Standard Survey 7, it was 8.4%. As we speak, the latest figure is 13.9%, almost 14%. Let me just set that record straight, even before we move on. So the point I'm making is that COVID only came to expose and worsen an already bad economy. And that is why none of our neighbors are going through debt restructuring of any form, domestic debt exchange, and so on. He mentioned Côte d'Ivoire. Look, I have in my hand the press statement that the IMF issued at the end of their recent visit to Côte d'Ivoire. And this is what they say about the Côte d'Ivoire economy. They say, the Ivorian economy proved resilient to the pandemic. Has the IMF said the same thing about the Ghanaian economy?
Oh, yes.
No. But the IMF has said that Ghana was hit by the exigencies of COVID-19.
And I'm saying that whereas in the case of Ivory Coast, the IMF says the economy was resilient to the pandemic. They don't say the same about our economy. Listen, walking to the hospital for treatment for headache is not the same as being carried on a stretcher in an ambulance to the hospital for treatment for stroke. Even though in both examples there is an issue, there is an issue of you going to the hospital. The condition in which you go to the hospital differs. You understand? So yes, many countries which are member states of the IMF are seeking support from the IMF. But the conditions of those two countries are not the same. IMF has not been downgraded to below junk status like Ghana. Ivory Coast has not been downgraded to below junk status like Ghana. They have not lost access to the international capital market. They have not recorded a debt to GDP of more than 100% like we have recorded debt to GDP of 103%. They are not recording hyperinflation of 52%. Okay, they are not recording lending rates of over 40%. They have not been given any condition by the IMF to successfully implement a debt restructuring program like it is happening to Ghana. So yes, they are going to the IMF, but the key issue is in what condition are they going to the IMF? And is that condition, that state, the same as a state in which Ghana is going to the IMF? The answer is emphatically no. Okay. So look, let them stop making flimsy excuses for their own failings. We are in this mess because they chose to spend recklessly. They chose to borrow recklessly. I was surprised when I heard the national chairman of the NPP today say that they have not borrowed recklessly. Really? You have not borrowed recklessly. So why is it that for the first time in the history of this fourth Republican, this fourth Republic, we have defaulted on our debt obligations? How come that we have been downgraded to RD, that is below baller status? If you have not borrowed recklessly, how come your debt to GDP, which is a measure of how sustainable your debt is now hovering around 103%? And how come you are imposing cruel financial haircuts on people who have lent you money, including your own citizens, including innocent pensioners? How come? So the fact that you cannot service your debt means that you have borrowed recklessly.